Welcome to Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a weekly podcast where Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is the star. Join me, Randy Cantrell, and my co-host Dennis Simpson as we discuss the history, facts, people, places, events, lots more surrounding Hot Springs Village, Arkansas. Visit the website at hotspringsvillageinsideout.com. Happy holidays from Hot Springs Village Inside Out. My name's Randy Cantrell. We recorded today's episode. Actually, we streamed it live on Friday, December the 10th, 2021, exclusively to our Facebook group. If you're not over there, what are you waiting for? Just go to the website, hsvinsideout.com, click on that Facebook icon, and you can become a member of our group. Easy peasy. We have a goal. The goal is to get to 3,000 members by the end of February. As I hit the record button today, we're a little over 1,550 people, give or take. So I hope you enjoyed today's show, which again was a live stream done earlier in the month. It was a big announcement, bigger for me than it probably was for Dennis, but a huge move for me and for my wife. That's a tease. So keep the play button going and enjoy today's show. And have a safe and happy holiday.
I'm trying to think when we went live again. I think we did. I just don't remember.
And I'm not gonna open Facebook because then we'll have the echo effect. So
we will, won't we?
Actually.
So we're live on Facebook, as it says right now. That's what I'm reading.
I think we are live.
It's so it appears that way. So apparently, Randy, and we're going to wait just a minute because people will be joining, right? But not too long because we don't want you to wander off.
All three people. The good thing about this is it records, and so
you can see it later.
You didn't catch it live. You're not missing anything.
Because breaking news doesn't happen every day.
No, it's not like it's breaking news. Although I've been watching the breaking news for the OU Sooner football.
And what's going on there?
Oh, it's terrific. It's wonderful. It is.
Tell me. I haven't been watching. I don't know.
Got a new coach.
Yeah.
Returning back from Clemson, where he
didn't take long.
Coordinator. Well, no, but he was on the staff for 12, 13 years before he went to Clemson for the last 10. So. Getting the band back together. Yeah, getting the band back together.
Yeah, the old band coming back.
Got a strength and conditioning coach who came back. He was at A&M, so and he's top notch. Players are the ex-players are all jacked up about him coming back because he's a tough as nails kind of a guy. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to be soft anymore. His name is Schmidt. They call him Smitty. He's going to work them to death. So
and so the old veterans like seeing the young kids work to death. Is that right?
Yeah. So it's exciting. So I've been on coach watch and player watch and recruit watch for 2 weeks now. So
yeah.
Well, that news broke. We were on our way home to DFW from the village, and I'm driving. Rhonda said, Lincoln Riley's leaving OU, going to USC. And I said,
what?
He is not.
No.
That ain't going to happen. 10 minutes later, it's a done deal. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is not nearly as big as that as far as scope and scale, but it's pretty huge it's huge for us. It's huge for both of us. It's huger for me. It's
huger-ishly.
Yeah, it's huger for Rhonda and me. So
I think so. And
Rush Limbaugh impersonation.
I have the magic papers in my hand. For those of you who are watching, how many people have we got now? 3, 5, 10?
I have no idea. I'm not going to go look. For those of you that aren't, you have to watch because this isn't an audio podcast. So never.
Yeah, that's true. And I got to tell you, honestly, I want to say before I pull the cat out of the bag here. Whoop, there goes one. Before I pull the cat out of the proverbial paper bag here, I do want to say our listeners and watchers, I am so grateful. I mean, sincerely, Randy, as we hit the record button today or the live button
192 days.
Unbelievable.
Because this event happened on the 191st day.
Did it really?
Podcast yesterday. Yesterday's when this news that we're fixing to reveal went down.
Yeah, and I gotta block out some particular information here. But well, I really don't have to actually.
Nobody will see it. Nobody
Well,
will see it.
does anybody care where the address is? I can block that out. I
I
mean,
don't care.
you don't care? Okay.
I don't care.
I am going to show and our watching and listening audience a piece of paper that is going to change inside out dramatically, I believe. This is a filed and certified deed.
Okay, we'll pull that back a little bit.
Okay, a warranty deed. There we go. So now you got it. This warranty deed says that D&D Village Property, an Arkansas land liability company, is selling to Randy and Rhonda Cantrell a beautiful lot. How would you describe it, Randall?
You told us to go check this out October.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you came down.
When we came in October, I had told Dennis early on in the podcast, man, there's a number of scenarios that I would be completely cool with. On a golf course, I'd be cool. He's on a lake. I love it. I wasn't bent to try to be on a lake. I love it. It's not that I have anything opposed to it. My preference would have been either on a golf course, but I don't want to be right in the thick of things, don't want to be like right on a cart path necessarily. I'm a little too introverted for that. Piney Woods, told you, man, you could bury me in Piney Woods and I'd be happy. Just something kind of sort of secluded, but I don't want to be completely at the end of the trail where there's nobody, kind of a thing. So Dennis gave us the address, said, go check this place out. So we go and we look at it back in October. And the minute we get out, I don't know, we've walked maybe 30 feet into the lot, and Rhonda looks at it and says, for the first time ever, I like this better than anything we've looked at. And I said, yeah, it's pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet. So I'll leave you to describe the rest of it.
Well, for those of you that know, and I think this is, we'll talk about this in a minute. Lake Lago is the water supply for Hot Springs Village. It is 180 acres, something like that, about 120 feet deep. It is the water supply designed to supply all of Hot Springs Village for 66,000 people, which we'd have maybe 16. And it has a right and a privilege through the Central Arkansas Water Agreement Pact to pull 1 million gallons a day out of the Middle Fork of the Saline River as needed. And Lake Lago
is also our new cover art from the.
It is our new cover. It is. You're right. We're looking from the north side down to the south side. I think that's the way it looks. Which Lake Lago is, if you haven't been to the Lake Lago overview, it's one of the highlights of the entire village. It is stinking awesome, as my friend says.
Yeah, just be very careful pulling out.
Yeah, because one way in, one way out, and you gotta, it's kind of a blind corner.
It's a hairy exit, man. But it's gorgeous. It's
you pull out quickly is what I do. I pull out very, very quickly and hope nobody else is coming.
Yeah.
But if you're on the north side of Lake Lago and you're in the overview and you look back or down at the lake and down at the dam and across on the other side, you can barely see two little houses. And this lot that we're talking about is right beside one of those houses. It looks down on Lake Lago, which is a protected water space, which we have danced around. I think the next general manager, this will be their easy pull a bunny out of a rat and pull a bunny out of a hat. And that is to say, why don't we have kayaking or canoes on Lake Lago, limited access, because it's a water supply. You're not going to put a motorboat out there or a jet ski or whatever, but it is a gorgeous, gorgeous lake that very few people even know where it is or what they're looking at. But we had Geronte, number 52 Geronte, which overlooks the lake and is common to that property. You step from the street, you step up maybe 2 feet, 3 feet, Randy, and then it's literally flat across the top of it, and it's just gorgeous.
Well, this is right now when the leaves are gone. I mean, you got a clear shot of the lake, and even back in October before fall had fallen, you could still see it, and that was important to us. The back view. I mean, what are you going to be staring at the rest of your life? Mm-hmm. And as we have talked, and in fact, a week from today, we will release a show that we did already on how to clean a title.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a little bit of a segue into, we've both talked, there's so many people that think, well, that's common POA property, and it may not be, and most everybody has some concerns about, okay, well, what's the backyard? What am I going to be staring at? And what is that going to look like over time? And I don't know if there's guarantees about it, much of anything, but that was important. And this one, yeah, it's secluded, it's quiet, it's nice. We did meet the neighbors. We came in November then, and we walked it. We spent, I don't know, I told Dennis, we probably spent a total of 3 hours, give or take, on the property, which was important. So we got to see it in October. We got to see it in November. Dennis was gracious and said, well, do you want me to work something up on it? And I looked at Rhonda, and she's shaking her head, and I said, yeah, I think we're ready to pull the trigger on that. So step one. So, hey, good news is, I'm not an outsider anymore.
You are a property owner, a real and genuine property owner. Well, and I think, there's been so many discussions and so much chatter, and people say silly things like, well, Balboa Golf Course is a problem, so maybe we should just shut it down. Yeah. That the words for that are called class action lawsuit, because everybody who ever bought on that golf course or ever wanted to buy on that golf course is going to say, no, you can't do that. Well, the possibility of that happening is fantastically small. The possibility of somebody doing away with Lake Lago is impossible. That's not going to happen at all, because we have to have that water supply lake. And there are really only so many properties around that. And we should be very clear. I want to go back to our audience for a minute. Some of you are locals, some of you aren't, people around the world. And thank you again, listeners and watchers. Lake Lago is the water supply, and it has a fence all the way around. It has a barrier all the way around it. And then it has a berm actually intended to keep the water out, because they wanted to be able to control what water came in and what water didn't. But the bottom line is that it's a protected area. You cannot build on the lake. You cannot build a boat dock. It is the reserve of reserve of reserve. It will never.
There's no lake access from backyards.
No.
But see, none of that mattered to me.
Sure. You wanted the view.
Going back to the view was what I cared about. Met the neighbor. She's lived on that street for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And
a great realtor, by the way.
Yeah, she's it's funny. She said, yeah, the only people that end up here are lost. I said, or people like me that have come here with a precise address in their phone to find, but really quiet, really beautiful. So we were pumped, but we clearly have been kind of thinking about this. But yeah, so it happened on day 191 of the podcast, and got to give you huge props. Dennis, he did us right, and so I appreciate him for that. You're now gonna have to at least put sold by that address on your website.
Oh goodness, I do, don't I?
Yeah, you at least need to do that. But but I would give a shout out, and I'll promote you a little bit. I mean, man, he's got a lot of lots. I don't know. I mean, Rhonda and I haven't looked at a dog. I'm not saying you may not have one, but I haven't seen one. And a lot of golf course lots. I mean, all the lots are, I would put your lots, the ones that you've directed me to. I haven't looked at all of them, but I've looked at a ton of them. I mean, they're definitely in the higher end, and I don't mean price wise. I just mean by the stuff that I was looking for. And to each his own.
Sure.
I get there's some people that might just want to be at the end of a dead end road. I haven't seen any of your lots that fit that description, but the good news is there are plenty of them out there. So if you're looking for that, you can find those.
Well, let me make a point and just draw a line of contrast real quick. There are several websites popping up where people have gone to Commissioner of State Lands and out of state people from Brazil, I'm not exaggerating, people from all over the world have jumped in and bought these properties that they've never seen. They don't even know what they look like. They don't have clean titles. They're not marketable titles. You can't build them tomorrow morning. And we'll just offer them to you in terms. And I'm not telling you that everybody that tries to sell you a lot is bad. No. We've said repeatedly, use a title company, get a third party intermediary, have somebody to share this between you. And it helps when your seller has physically seen the lot. And that's why when you say you haven't seen any dogs, well, I'm not saying we don't have a dog or two, but the bottom line is that Diane and I each have walked this property multiple times. And I want for everybody who's listening, if you are remotely interested in purchasing a property in Hot Springs Village and you are serious about building, do exactly what Randy and Rhonda did. Take your time, look around, see it in different times of the year, and bring your lawn chairs and sit on that property and imagine what it's going to be like for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. I see people that do a drive-by, they get out of maybe they get out of the car, maybe they don't. Well, we want that lot. Have you walked it? Do you know where the corners are? Do you know what the view is? Have you seen it in the fall? If this is going to be your largest investment, typically, your home, then man, just spend some time there,
We went up there one day in November because we were there for over a week. Mm-hmm. And we went one day where the weather wasn't terribly great. And I'm like, well, let's go up there. Let's see. Because the wind was, and where we were staying was kind of down in a lower place. So we get up there, the wind's just howling. And I said, here you go. This is why you come and you visit. Now, come on. I'm from Oklahoma. I've lived in Oklahoma City, and Chicago is not the Windy City. No. Oklahoma City's got Chicago beat all to pieces. Mm-hmm. But, it's clearly not a deal breaker or anything. But you can go to some places in the village that day, including where we happen to be staying. There's nothing, man. It's still and quiet. But you get up on a lot like that. I don't know. You want to know what you're getting into. I think, I'm shocked at the people. We've heard from a number of people lately, and we're real appreciative. People that are looking at the village, people that are planning trips to come to the village or come back to the village, who've got plans to retire, some as soon as next year, some who may be a few years off. And Dennis and I regularly hear from you, and we have no way of knowing how many of you there are, but the podcast is for you too, because I'm right there with you. Rhonda and I just chose to do it. We learned about this, I guess it was that October trip, but we made multiple visits that trip. We made multiple visits this last trip, but for us, it checked the boxes. Now, here's what you may not know. We've looked, right? It's like houses. You look, and we've lived in our house for over 20 years. And when we were looking, realtor would take us, I'd look at the curb and I'm like, I'm not even getting out of the car. You don't even want to see it? I said, no, it's a hard no for me right now. Right? I mean, the more you look, the more you know what you don't want. And hopefully the clearer it becomes what you do want. So by the time we get to this property, that's why Rhonda, who is not an impulsive buyer at all, and I'm not putting it all off on her, but she's an important part of this equation. She looked at it and she said, oh yeah, I like this a lot. I like this better than anything we've looked at. I like this better than anything we've thought about. And, I couldn't disagree with her,
Well, let me add one of the things between you and the neighbor, and this is always helpful. So when you have a realtor or a seller like myself, Randy was asking the right questions. Okay, where's the plat? Where are the corners to this? How can I see what this is? Well, when we pulled the plat up and send it to him, he's looking, because the neighbors, bless their soul, had cleared an area beside that where they had dumped leaves, or they had just, kind of cleaned the area and cut up some of the trees. Well, come to find out, that area was what, Randy, 30 something feet of green space?
25 feet. There's a 25-foot easement between the properties. which
between
like,
those two. Between
yeah,
those two,
which like she said is a huge advantage for both of us. Okay, well, it's kind of nice to know that. Yeah. I mean, I'm burning up the phone with Dennis. We're out there walking this thing, and I'm like, okay, tell me where. So he's giving me the dimensions, and we're looking at it, and we're thinking, okay, that's, because in your head you're walking the thing, and I'm thinking, okay, it's a rectangle. No, it's pretty stinking square. I wasn't expecting a square. And before we kind of wind down, let's talk about, for those of you that haven't gone through this, because I haven't. So the process, and I don't mean, whether it's a title company, whatever, but what you can expect, the kind of expenses, the kind of cost, because you're an old pro at this. So from a buyer's perspective, I've clearly got the price of the property, and then what am I looking at?
Let me address the price of the property first. The assessed value, which you're going to need to talk about, the assessed value that the county had on this property was over double what you paid. Okay. Because the last time it traded hands, it was sold through NRPI that sold it at a very high rate. That's probably not the fair real price.
Right.
So look at the county assessor, but do not assume it is written in stone. The county assessor, ACT Data Scout for Garland County, AR County data for Saline County, but look at the data and say, okay, what did it sell for before? And what were these other things? And what does the county say it's worth? That's a thumbnail, but don't use it as gospel. But you look at that, and
what's the impact of that number other than me trying to figure out what the thing is worth? Is there any power behind that number?
Well, that number is what you pay your property tax on.
Yeah, exactly.
And that number, yeah, exactly. And if you've bought it for really literally half of what that other number was, then you need to go to the county and go, hey, look, here's what it sold for. That's what you thought it was 10 years ago. Here's what it really sold for. And so I'd like to appeal my tax. Well, half of your property tax, no, it's not biblical, but let's say it goes from $2,000 to $1,000. Okay. I mean, it's worth your while to do that. But that said,
biblical if it was in Texas, but it's not.
Yeah, that's true too.
No, it would be criminal.
Biblical. But you don't have estate tracts. That's what it is.
It's just a different name. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
but they
keep going.
They knock your head off about the other. Okay. So step one, make sure you're getting an accurate price. Ask other experts, look around the market. You'll learn very quickly what it really would be worth. The next thing is that you will go to if you're dealing with a contractor or with a realtor or just an individual party, you need a contract. And that contract says, I'll sell this to you and you'll give me this much money. And as every realtor will tell you, and I'm not a realtor, but every realtor will tell you, everything's negotiable. The price may be $30,000 or $20,000 or whatever, but the closing cost for raw land, like we're talking about, the closing cost is going to be maybe $200 for title insurance. It'll be a prep fee to prep the deed. It'll be a fee to the title company. It'll be the filing fees. The filing fees are usually about $50 to $80 for the county or for the state. And then you actually have to file the papers. So all said, push and go, it's going to be between $380 and $500 in that ballpark for most other properties. It's $500 really well spent. You look at that and go, man, $500. Well, I got news for you. Over 200 of that is probably going to happen no matter what, simply because you have to file the taxes and pay all that stuff. The other 300 is because you have an insurance policy that says, if there's a problem with this, we'll go to court and defend it and we'll protect your value.
But I can buy it and I'm buying it really inexpensively. And the guy selling it to me, he's going to carry the note for me and blah, 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 blah.
And until you make your last payment, you have not bought jack, period. You have a land sales contract.
Yeah, you have. You've bought a really high risk proposition, but
a high risk proposition that does not include an independent third party. It does not include title insurance. It does not in your name. It is not in your name. So therefore you do not own it. Right. And we preach this a dozen times, Randy, I know, and thank you for setting up the question. But the bottom line is use a title company. The $500 is well worth it. Actually, it's $250 is what it's going to cost you out of pocket mostly. But and because I said everything is negotiable, when you are working with your buyer and seller, you can say, okay, yeah, we'll pay you this much money, but we want you to pay the closing cost. And a lot of times sellers like myself or anybody else will go, well, okay, we will. The customary
thing. Wait a minute, what?
Yeah, what?
Wait a minute, what?
No. It's signed. We're done. We're done. Wait a
minute. You didn't tell me that. You didn't tell me that was negotiable. Okay,
little details.
Right.
No, but where I'm going with this is that it's customary for you to split it 50-50. Okay. Yeah. But it's not uncommon for you to say, no, you pay that part, I pay that part. And this is no, Diane and I have some properties that we're buying from Cooper that are under contract. And Cooper was saying, well, it's not in the village, so we're going to have to survey it. We want you to buy the survey. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to buy, I'll split the closing with you, but I'm not buying the survey. And one of the realtors came to me and said, well, why do you not want to buy the survey? I said, because if it's not acceptable, I just paid $5,000 for a survey for a piece of property that you're going to sell with that survey now.
Yeah, right.
No. So there's a lot of ins and outs.
And surveys aren't cheap.
And surveys aren't, well, not for these pieces of property in particular. And you know, I've been doing this 20 years, but there's still some naivete here. And one of my comments when we bought one of our first ones, the 30 acres back behind us, was like, okay, it's bordered by the village on all sides. That's the defining parameter. Mm-hmm. Why do I need a survey? That's the survey is everything around it. Right. You know, come on.
Right. By exclusion, the fine folks, it's good. Yeah.
And the fine folks at Cooper said, no. We're not going to bring it in the village without a survey. And I'm like, okay. Yeah.
And there's another issue. So we've got this property now. So we're planning a trip in December, and I'm going to have to do what during that trip?
You're going to take this lovely deed, and you're going to take it down to the, it's already been, let me go through the process again. You make a contract, you go through the title company takes care of that, and they send a copy to the state of Arkansas and to the county. It's filed. They send it back to you. You get a lovely deed in your hand like this. And then you take that deed to the POA and you say, I am now a property owner. I'd like to be a member because I'm a property owner, but I need to be a member. So it's now January 1st, it'll be 150. Today it's 125 for the, not a buy-in fee, but for the transfer fee. That's for taking it out of my name and putting it in yours, blah, 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 blah. The next is that they will, next January 1st, there'll be an additional $250 on that for the buy-in fee. But as we're going to get under the wire very conveniently, boy, somebody thought ahead, didn't they? So we'll have this filed, and you will get a membership card. You'll get a little packet that says, please pay your $59 a month POA.
I can get a window decal now.
You can get a window decal.
I can go in the right hand lane.
You can.
That's just remarkable. Remarkable. I can be waved on through now. I don't have to stop and sit behind two cars of yahoos like me, or trying to get the car to put.
Who are holding up their phone and a map and going, where are we? Where are we again?
Exactly.
If you can pull over here, sir, we'll explain to you where you're at. Pull over to the side. Let these other 15 cars by, please.
Right. So now I can honk and wave and mock those people.
Well, yeah, and not only that,
to do what I have had to do for 3 years now.
But not only that, you get to fly through that lane. Well, no.
I get behind the three cars that are traveling together. I've done this repeatedly. I mean, Rhonda vows I've got a sixth sense. I'm like, no, wait a minute. Oh, wait, here's a caravan. I'll get behind them, so that the poor guard has to go to all three cars. I do feel badly for these gatekeepers, but
they're hardworking guys. They really are. And
I appreciate their work.
There's a reason the guy in the member lane is standing behind a 1,000-pound barrier.
That's exactly right. Yeah,
He
but
knows how to duck if he has to,
I'm really excited about that. And
Yeah,
that's
you got the right
and
lane
that,
privileges.
yeah, and what does that cost me? What is the
The decal's free. The decal's free. Now the card that has the chip in it is $10, a $10 one-time fee. Yeah, well worth your while.
And what does that do for
That
people
allows
that
you to
have
get in
no
the
clue?
Cortez, the Glazy Poe, the Balboa, the East Gate after 10 o'clock because it's closed down, and the Coronado Balboa Gate.
So you can get out. You can get out of those, but you can't get back in unless you got a card.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
okay.
And depending on where you're staying, it can make a big difference. I mean, it really can. We have guests that come in that stay on the West End with us. And if 10 o'clock they close down the East Gate, you've got to drive another 20 miles to come around the other side. And Randy, we had a couple, and bless their souls, really, D&D Village Properties plug. We have one of our downstairs units. These people drove, I think they said 11 hours from Illinois to Hot Springs Village, Arkansas to spend 2 days. And I'm like, man, I would have, yeah.
I mean, you stay twice that long, at least.
Yeah, exactly. At least. But then when they got here and the East Gate was closed and they had to drive another 20, I'm like, my heart just hurt for them. If I'd had a remote access, I would have let them in the East Gate, Yeah. So, but the long and the short of it is you have to go to the POA, file your deed with them. They then make you a member and they give you little cards to pay your dues. They give you the POA sticker and then they give you a POA card. Hang on,
and they'll be open that week.
They will be open that week. Yeah, they used to be open on Saturdays, but they're not now. So Randy, well, this is man, hang on, that's rough looking. No telling how long that is. Here is.
So you telling me I need to gussy up before they take my picture?
Well, no, you just need to be.
There's no gussying up, by the way. This is
you need to be fun. You need to be fun.
That is unbelievable.
So the ladies, I thought you had seen that card.
No, I haven't seen that. That's worth going live for right there, man.
The lady said strike a pose, and I was like,
well, I'm just struck by the hair. Man, alive. Look at that. It looks like an Elvis wig. What's up with that? So you're telling me I need to bring my Elvis wig with me and put that in my head?
You made a post on Facebook this last week that I loved. And by the way, I love our guests, our members and guests putting photos on our website. On our Facebook page. We appreciate that. We really do. We love the fact that y'all see this as a positive influence too.
Well,
and nobody's putting junk
levity at its finest.
Levity at its finest. But no, I thought it'd be fun. You need to be more fun, right?
How old is that? Do you have to get that redone every now and again?
Oh, no. That's what I was about to say. See, your Facebook post
unless you lose it.
Exactly. Well, no, this is still in the computer. So I think it was I'm going to say it was 2013 or 2012. I hadn't been here just a year or so at that time. But here's the funny part, Randy. Here's the funny part. So I show people my card and everybody at the gate goes, everybody smiles, at the gate. But no, what I was saying is that you put up a picture the other day and it said, there was a time when you and all your friends went outside to play.
Yeah.
And it was your last time.
Yeah. That was at my Leaning Toward Wisdom podcast. So
yeah.
We're going to be shouting out to other stuff, leaningtowardwisdom.com if you want to hear more sober minded things.
And it's wonderful. It's fine. But
that's where the photograph.
So yesterday I'm at the county courthouse. I'm filing these papers. I'm walking down the hallway. I'm at the county. Now, I've had to come in and out twice. I'm a licensed security agent for the state of Arkansas, manager for the state of Arkansas. When I come in and I chat with the security guards, they're like, look, you're cool. It's fine. I go out. I come back in. I'm coming through the metal detector.
Don't say you're cool.
No. They did. The guy went, you're cool. Come on through. Yeah, he did. He really did.
You're good, but I'm not sure about the cool.
Because he could have been super dweeby too. So it's cool on a relative level.
Well, there you go.
It's a relative level.
Okay.
So I'm walking back down the hall and I've just filed these papers. I'm good. I'm done. And there's this stern 6'2" police officer just looking at me. He's just kind of squinting at me. And I'm walking down the hall and I'm going to have to pass him. I mean, we're going to be, 2 feet from each other. And we get a little closer and he's still just squinting. And I'm trying to smile like I hadn't done anything.
Right. You're just trying to get out with your life.
Exactly. Yeah. And I get within 6 feet of him and he said, "Are you Dennis Simpson?" I'm like, dang, do I owe this guy money too?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking,
Depends who's asking.
Yeah, exactly. And I look on his little button and it says F. Fleming. Now, if you know F. Fleming, you know more about this guy than I'm about to tell you, because his real name that he goes by his friends with is Bud. And 41 years ago, I sang with him in youth choir at First Southern Baptist Church in Bryant, Arkansas. The last time I saw this guy was 41 years ago. And we left on fantastic terms.
You haven't changed a bit.
I haven't. Now he changed. Apparently he looks old. I mean, I don't. Right. That's unfortunate. But he's not doing this on the card anymore. So.
But it is amazing that he recognized you.
It's astonishing that he recognized me. And then I was asking him. He said he'd seen my mom maybe 3 or 4 months. He had been in Texas.
41 years ago. You were how
old? 59. So
live math.
Yeah. A
teenager.
I was just a teenager. Yeah. I was going off to college. I was 18. I wasn't even 18 when I went to college. Here I'll tell, and I know we're going on and on. I'm sorry, but I actually went to college.
Do this.
I had been there 4 or 5 weeks, and they came and said, "Look,
you're not smart enough to be here.
You seem like a nice guy."
Right.
When it starts with "you seem like a nice guy," it's downhill from there. No, they came and told me that if I didn't take the ACT test, they were going to have to let me go because I got into college without an ACT test.
Well, did you take like an SAT?
An SAT, yeah, but they changed it.
You didn't take anything?
I'd never taken one. I'd never taken one in my life. This is back when dinosaurs ruled the earth.
Shocking.
Back in the 80s.
Yeah.
I sat down, filled out the test. I was 2 points shy of a scholarship. Had never seen the test before in my life. Had no idea what it even was about. Had I practiced, I would have got a scholarship.
Did you do what my son did? You just kind of made a pattern out of it.
I thought about that. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. 1, 3, 5, 7.
That's impressive.
I didn't think. I will tell you this. I'm going to do a shout out to a dear lady who I doubt's watching this. Charlie Cole Chafin. Charlie Cole Chafin was my physics professor, my science professor, and my physical science professor. Teacher. She was teacher of the Southwest 3 of the 5 years I was in high school with her. And she was a truly, truly brilliant lady and a fantastic teacher. I can still quote the metric conversions back and forth to you because that woman beat them in my head. Man. And anyway, she was we talk about mentors and people that have an effect on your life. Yeah. She was a huge, I clept out of my first year I walked in the door, first science class or chemistry class or whatever it was. And the teacher was asking questions and I'd go, "That's a diatomic molecule. That's a blah, 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 blah." And I'm just, because that's what Charlie Cole had beat in our heads.
Now you're just showing off.
No. And at the end of the class, the guy said, "Would you like to take the CLEP test and get out of here?" And I'm like, "Would I? This is a 9 o'clock class. I want to sleep late."
9 o'clock.
Yeah, it was brutal.
7:30, man.
Oh man,
I remember being a freshman at LSU, and you had to. They made the freshmen take 7:30.
Oh yeah, classes. I remember that, the 7:30 English class, because you know how exciting that is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So there's 2 7:30s in a day now, huh?
Mm-hmm.
They're doing that twice.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Exactly.
I tell you what, those of you who are still watching,
we're tickled to be insiders. It probably happened quicker than we anticipated, but we didn't anticipate stumbling onto that lot. In fact, I think I probably said to Rhonda at some point that first visit, because this wasn't one of the first ones.
Yeah,
said, he's been holding this one out on us. He didn't want us to see this one. He's afraid we'd buy this one out from under him.
Well, you just don't know who's going to like what. You really don't. And once again,
no, it's it checked all the boxes for us. And anybody that's out there listening to this, anybody that listens to the podcast, if you're looking at the village, if you're more seriously looking at the village, yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, those of us that are looking to come to the village for the reason that everybody I've talked to, young and old, comes there, for the peace and tranquility.
Yeah.
Here's the great thing about it. I'll say this and then I'll shut up. You can find what you want.
Yeah.
Now, can you afford it? I don't know. You got to make those calls. But if you want piney woods, I've seen them. If you want on golf courses, Dennis has got oodles of things that he could show you. If you want just remote woods, you can find that. If you want on a lake, okay, a little tougher.
Yeah, but
little more
views are still a
there.
bargain. Views are still a bargain for what it's worth. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you want lakefront, okay, that's a premium all over the planet, so there's nothing special there. But that's the great thing about the place. It is still so underdeveloped, and it's still so magnificent and so enormous. You can 50 years later, 51 years later, you can find what you want. You look
well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a little insight. I don't think I've even shared this with you. We have some reserve properties under contract, and people are saying, what are you going to do with them? Great questions. And I'm going to discuss it with some very intelligent people. One of the things, we're just going to go enjoy it. We're going to go sit on our land. We're going to take our chairs and just sit around and go, this is nice. This is what happens when you're at work busting your butt all day. This is still going on, whether you're here or not, Yep. But you're right. The variety is, I think, I know, unsurpassed, incredibly low crime, beautiful. But anyway, those of you who saw, what did you say, Randy? I want to ask again. Did you watch, or have you made the episode with Ricky Middleton, the police chief? That was delightful. I just like the guy. I like talking.
No, and we've gotten tons of positive feedback, and that show's been live
9 hours,
less than
12 hours,
less than 24 hours. Well, it went live at midnight.
Yeah,
but, for those of you that wait till 12:01 and anxiously perched on the edge of your seat waiting for a new episode to come out, which is nobody, but yeah, it's and we could have gone, and I don't know how long that episode was. I mean, it was one of our longer episodes, but we finally just had to shut down and say, okay, we need to have you back on here again.
Well, and he graciously agreed immediately, which is huge. I mean, this guy,
the guy started out, doing manual labor at $3.75 an hour back, in what was it, 71 or something?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
The guy's he's been a fixture in the village forever. I didn't know that, talking to him. So, and the podcast, I will say this, the podcast is still largely aimed at just both of us. Mine more than yours, only because mine is more naivete. Yours is less naivete because you've been there for a while and you're familiar with it, but we're still driven by the curiosity to just learn more about the place, learn more about the people that are there. And next week, you're going to see an episode with one of Dennis's neighbors. I mean, this is very typical, by the way. And we hang up, and I'm kind of ripping and snorting at Dennis like, okay, that we absolutely dropped the ball on this one. Very gracious woman. She's very involved in dog rescue, especially with kill shelters to prevent these dogs from being euthanized. And she was a 25-year professor of English at Clemson,
who wrote books and edited books.
Yeah, wrote 2 books. Her deceased husband, also a professor at Clemson, had written 20 books. Her sister, who lives in the bottom floor, is some big shot smarty pants with the CDC out of Atlanta.
Works geneticist, biogeneticist.
Yeah, works remotely there in the village, and I'm kidding Dennis, like, well, man, you're bringing the IQ of that street down. You got PhDs but that sounds like fantastical stuff. But even before we went live, Dennis and I were talking. I mean, I encounter it every single trip.
Yeah.
Every single trip, I encounter people that have got big time skins on the wall. And I'm like, well, I hope nobody asks me because I ain't done nothing, man. We start a little podcast, ask some questions, and hear some interesting stories. But yeah, it's just fascinating.
Well, no, and I tell you what's going to make you a great villager. And by the way, congratulations on being a villager. I'm truly proud of you, and especially 191 days. But what's going to make you a great villager is exactly what you just did. Everybody's humble. She wanted to talk more about dogs than she wanted to talk about her 25 years and about editing any books.
Yeah.
And going on and on. You say, well, I hope nobody asks about my skins on the wall. You got skins on the wall, brother.
Well, I'll issue this warning for her episode, and I love her. She was fantastic. But those of you that enjoy listening to podcasts at 1.5 or 2 times speed,
you can't do this.
You're not going to be able to do that. She's a fast talker, man. She is a fast talker. We should have a contest in the village, and she's probably without peer.
I can speak pretty quick. I don't know if you know that, but I'm pretty fast. But she
can sustain it. She can sustain it.
I can only burst it. What I wanted to tell you was
you and I are pretty good at 1.5 speed.
Yeah, I think we're a couple
of Southern boys, and
something tells me you've heard us at 1.5 and 1.125, right?
Yeah. Well, if you've listened at all,
maybe. Yeah. Well, let me preface something real quick, simply to bounce off your point just a little more. The guy to the back of me was the corporate pilot for the Dillard's Corporation worldwide. He flew people all over the world, the Dillards, in particular, Dillard's department stores in Little Rock, flew them all over the world. Retired, they dragged him back. Retired, another company hires him back again. He's in Orlando right now, wintering for the Christmas season, and then he'll be back. And this guy's not wealthy by any stretch. But I'll tell you what, I want to say this to you too, because I know this is important. He has a pickup truck, a Harley, and runs 2 to 3 times a week up and down the road. The guy's got to be in his 70s, and he's in great health. That's the village profile. Sharp mentally, sharp physically. He just takes care of things. He really does. The guy, Norm, who lived next door where Donna and Connie live now, wonderful guy. He actually was retired longer than he worked. Okay. Because when in the 70s, when the IBM Selectric, that the little ball would come up and pop on the screen and everything, he took one of those IBM Selectrics apart, he put a multimeter on it, and he typed every key, and he recorded every one of these, and he mapped that back out. He hooked that to a tape recorder, and he made the world's first word processor for attorneys. So a secretary would sit down and say, record, and she would type in the letter, dear blah, 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 or dear blank. It has come to our attention, blah, 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 blah. And then she would put a piece of paper in and hit play, and it would print out that letter. And all she had to do was stop, and she would type in the name, and then it would print the rest of the letter. For attorneys at that time in the late 70s, that was rocket science. And he made millions on that. But you talk about interesting people. Oh my goodness, they're everywhere.
Well, I told you the other day, we're never going to run out of material. I mean, the
sure.
podcast is gonna die because we do. It's not going to be because of lack of interesting stories to tell.
Well, before we go, let's talk about one more thing. Mm-hmm. When we interviewed John Paul a couple of weeks ago, he gave us some dynamite leads, 3 to be exact. Good. And these people have committed. Number 1, Linda Mayhood, which we just have to set up a date with. Linda Mayhood was the assistant manager for over 30 something years. She was actually the general manager for an interim. I think it was either 1 or 2 periods where she was the general manager. Savvy lady, and who is enjoying her retirement and is happy to come on, but we want to do it on her schedule. Mm-hmm. The next one is Ernie, who is the Cooper. I know. Oh my God. He is the Cooper engineer that was assigned to this development, but he was charged with finding developments all over the United States. And he said something. I've talked to him for nearly an hour this morning, and he's a talker. Who knows? A talker on our show, Randy. Who knew? Who knew?
Oh, we need him to be.
We need him to be. And he was telling me that he had looked at and reviewed over 5,000 properties for Cooper, and that he had physically gone to over 250 to 300. And of those, he could come in just a few minutes and go, yeah, this will work, or no.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he told us, in an email that, he and these engineers, he doubted anybody had more experience. Anybody had looked at as much as those guys had looked at.
I have no reason to doubt that whatsoever. And he did contradict John Paul. He was saying that they knew where things were laid out before they were laying them out. He had an idea, but I'll let him tell that story too. But fascinating guy. Nobody, and John Paul said nobody knows more about it, and I think he's right. Well, because Ernie was telling me he had been here in the village for 10 years before John Paul came.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So let that sink in.
Yeah.
And the other one is the lady with Connect to First, which is the fiber company they are laying the fiber lines right now as we speak.
Karma, I'm not sure she'll come on, but she may want somebody else to. But
true. But anyway, we're going to have somebody from the
John
fiber
Paul,
company.
We got, all three of those were terrific.
Yeah.
And he just volunteered that up, by the way. He just totally said, I'll tell you who y'all need to talk to. We're like, sign us up. And he kind of sort of made the introduction, which we thank him for.
Well, I mean, really, Randy, let's call a spade a spade. John Paul, Greg, Jeff, other great guests have talked us up and shared our story to so many other people, just like you, our listener and viewer, have done the exact same thing. Sure, we know how to do digital things. That's what we do. We're techies, basically. But at the same time, you organic people that are talking to other people and going, have you seen that show? Did you see a show about reserve property? Did you see a show about blah, 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 blah? Those numbers just keep going up. Actually, I was looking at reserve property. We're coming up on 1,000 views. I was looking at Greg Jones. He's coming up on 800 the very first time we interviewed him. And, those numbers, we think when we put these on the
one that you made me do. Don't look at those numbers. Those are really.
So you're the under 100 crowd, but that's for now. That's for now.
Low numbers, and then somebody comments and says, "Well, when are you going to do one with Dennis?" And I'm thinking every one.
Episode.
Well, I mean, somebody commented at YouTube that and said,
that's why I ask you, because I thought about it all the time. I thought, man, I talk so much. I need to. Let me ask the other side.
Making me be the canary in the coal mine.
Well, hey, you didn't die.
Didn't come back, so let's not go down that rabbit hole.
No, you didn't die. We're fine. We still got a canary.
Yeah, I think it's got like 53 pitiful, measly views or something.
No, but you know what's going to happen, and you need to address this more than I do.
It's going to soar up to 55 and then die. Is what's going to happen. I'm going to take it down out of embarrassment. Is what's going to happen. No. Everybody go watch Randy's show. Okay, it's very. It's fascinating. I'm perfectly happy that it's a low number. By the way, I really am. I didn't want to do it to begin with.
Well, one of our classic episodes, Dennis Goes to the Dump, is under 100 also. So I'm just saying.
Well, that probably had more to do with the fact that I titled it. I should have been more creative.
How come I didn't get to title your show?
Yeah,
what's up with that?
What happens when you're the webmaster? You get to make those kind of executive
It's good to be the king. It's good to be the king.
Seriously, before we say goodnight, Dennis, great appreciation for you putting us onto this lot. Thank you for for making us, a sweetheart deal that you certainly didn't have to. It's a gorgeous piece of property. Now the wheels are really turning on our end. I mean, just yesterday, so Rhonda comes in and she's spitting these ideas and stuff, So, I mean, it's really got the wheels turning, and our problem now is just patience, because timing's everything, and we're not prepared to do anything today, but yeah, the wheels are really turning. So she said, I think last night, well, step one. And I'm like, step one to the future. So anyway, thank you. I appreciate your help and your generosity in making us a good deal on it.
You are profoundly welcome. And I want to tell you, when we have our guests here at the Airbnbs, yes, we make money off of it. Yes, that's what we do. But we want to see people make great memories. We want people to go home and go, do you remember that time when we were in the village and we did blah, and we walked the trails and the kids took the dogs and we did that? Frankly, Randy, I just wanted you to have a forever home. Thrilled.
Yeah.
Thrilled. Because, number one, I want you as a neighbor. We talk literally every day, maybe 2 or 3 times a day. And Dallas is a long way off. We don't get to go to lunch very often. And, there's a lot of times we need to just look face to face and chat and talk. And
well, this one checked other boxes too. And that it's still in the village, but it's a safe enough distance from you. It's not right next door, which that was critically important. If
Don't be near Dennis.
And there was an easy landmark to know where to turn to get to it.
The trademark.
Yeah. So Trademark Realty, and hang a left, and okay, I can get there from here. So it checked all the boxes. It just,
well, I got to tell you, you need to realize, and if you don't, but as you drive up to that corner, and it's a funny switchback that gets you there. It's crazy and all that. Yes. And it's a beautiful area. Diane and I have walked that Geronte Way. It makes a kind of a funny horseshoe loop, right, double loop thing. Right. Even the bottom lands on the north side or the east side are gorgeous. But that whole ridge up there has some unbelievable views. Mark Jones, Greg Jones' son, lives up on there and has a world-class view that, as he notes, in Dallas he would never have been able to afford. So yeah, the whole area is just, it's jam-packed with beauty.
Yeah, I love it. All right, say good night, Dennis.
Good night, Dennis, and thank you all for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for this live episode. And I got news for you. We have some great new things coming up in the new year. It's going to be exciting, truly.
Yep. Now, if we can figure out how to get off of Facebook and stop the live stream.
I know. How do we press the button right there?
Thanks for listening to another episode of Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a podcast where Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is the star. Please subscribe to the podcast. You can do that by visiting our website, hsvinsideout.com, and tell a friend.